Last year, we started a label called the French Tech, but it wasn't innovation as defined in an office in the Ministry of the Economy. It was simply telling entrepreneurs, you have to know each other, you have to work together, big groups with smaller companies, with research institutes, with local representatives, administrations, in order to create an ecosystem. Politicians never addressed before entrepreneurs and startups to tell them you're important to us. And all of a sudden, these people felt proud.
We put, with central government, local government, European money and private money, probably about £2 billion into broadband infrastructure outside of cities. Before we came into government, everyone in the industry was telling me that too many kids were going to school learning how to use applications, but not how to build applications. And also for a lot of these kids, this was a massive turn-off because, of course, they can use these applications pretty much in their sleep. What they want to do is learn how to build these things. We produced a report which recommended that computer coding should be put into the curriculum. Every one of my colleagues in government completely ignored this report. And then Eric Schmidt from Google gave a lecture where he said, what are you guys doing? Why don't you have coding in the curriculum? The whole technology agenda is going to change the way we educate our children and young people, and indeed adults. The barriers between businesses and education have to come down and become much more porous. Businesses have to see themselves as partly universities and partly as schools, and schools themselves have to be open to the skills of business people, because this technology is changing so fast.
The atmosphere for digitalization, the atmosphere for infrastructure investments, the environment to invest as a big company into infrastructure has improved. There's much more understanding from political leaders with regard to what it takes to have a level playing field with the other ecosystems which are existing in the world from a European standpoint. The industry, and even Deutsche Telekom, isn't that great in inventing new business models. We have raised the biggest private fund for VC capital in Europe from a corporate perspective, which is 500 million. We do not own the company. We only own 49% of that company. 51% of that company is owned by the VC managers. At the end of the day, this money is getting invested in Europe.
I still think that the market is not as big as in the US, and that's one of the challenges we face, all of us in Europe, to make that market grow. We would like to convince the banks and insurance companies to take a little bit more risks and take that money and invest it in riskier models supported by startups. The problem we have, I see at the moment in France, is not so much in the seed or even in the development. It's when really the company starts growing and needs to invest again to address foreign markets.
We have a big problem here. Is Facebook a communication service, yes or no? It does SMS with WhatsApp. It is doing now even voice calls. I'm not blaming Facebook, don't take me wrong, guys. But what I'm blaming is that at the regulator, nor in our German regulatory, nor in the European, these guys are even quoted or registered at telecommunication service. We have a Fernmeldegeheimnis here in Germany, we have a data protection law on the German level, and we have even a European environment, which is, by the way, not consistent. They're not participating at all at the huge infrastructure costs which we have for bandwidth in the respective markets. Do I blame these guys in the valley for that one? Definitely not. But what I'm criticizing, Klaus, is that none of us is able to compete with these guys in the same level playing field.
What is important is to find a compromise between protecting data, and yes, we have a different tradition in Europe. Data, personal data I'm talking about, are more protected for historic reasons, and we're in Germany, you know all too well about it, than in the rest of the world, and we do not want to change that. But then we have to ensure that the legal environment favors innovation. It's working pretty well in Europe because I'm just back from the US. Here, using my phone or using the internet, it costs me 3 times cheaper and it goes 3 times faster. And that's thanks to free competition.
Where you see government standing in your way, you should tell government.
And the only answer is that we find our own identity on data protection, on infrastructure, on even on startups in Europe. This is a 350 million market.